Hi, what's your name?
My name is Silas Hagerty.
How long have you been coming to the fair?
I've been coming to the fair for almost 40 years, ever since I was a little kid, and I'm now just turned 44.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think about 40 years.
That's long time, a lot longer than a lot of other people I interviewed. What's your favorite part about the fair?
My favorite part about the fair is probably like the late nights and early mornings of the fair. It's usually not when there are a ton of people there. It's usually like late at night around a fire, or laughing with people before bed, or in the early morning when everyone's kind of rising and looking around, checking on their animals, making coffee, looking out for each other, helping each other out. Yeah, I think the late night and early mornings are my favorite time at the fair growing up.
Is there anything particularly that you're like, every year you have to do this thing? You're like, I gotta go see this or do this.
Well, like for instance, this year on a Friday, we were coming up, and I knew I wanted to get there before you guys went to bed. And for, Claire and Soren and Nick and maybe your mom would be there, and I wanted to see you guys, and I wanted to see the other horse people. I wanted to see Chris before he went to bed. So like the low impact forestry area, the horses, that whole area has been kind of a home for me for a long time. And so that's one of my favorite parts, is to get up there at night before I'm going to bed, and then, sit around a fire, hunker up next to a wood stove, whatever it might be, and tell stories. You may be asking me this later, but if I can share one story of, year before last, that we were all sitting around the fire, and your dad, Nick, his chair started to make some noises, and we were kind of joking about his old rickety chair. Mm-hmm. And then there was an awkward silence in between our conversation. There was like 5 seconds of silence. And then all of a sudden, your dad's chair just self-destructed, and he went straight through it butt first, and his knees were all of a sudden around his ears.
I believe he said, "I'm losing altitude," and then that happened.
I'm losing altitude. Exactly. So just so many beautiful moments like that, where you're reconnecting with people you haven't seen in a year, and there's this touch point every year where you haven't seen a lot of different people, and you can always come back to it. And any time that I haven't had the Common Ground Fair, there have been a handful of times over the years when I haven't been able to go, and it's like a box isn't checked in your annual, check-in calendar. And so much of it's the check-ins with people you love. And so that's one example are those night times, getting there before everyone goes to sleep and getting around a fire and just laughing for a good 30, 40 minutes with everybody.
Yeah, that's a big part. Is there a food that you get every year, or something that you wish they had at the fair, or like food related things?
This past year I had, I'd say, at least 3 plates of the Taj Indian dish, which I highly recommend. So when I find one thing, I kind of just stick with it. I just go. I'm a big fan of that tent. Sausage, lamb. What else do I love? The bialys. Is that what the Caroline eats those every year? Yeah, she and Eisa get up every morning early to go get one of those, and a chai, spiced chai. So those are kind of our regular menu items that we try and seek out every year.
Do you want to talk about why the low impact forestry area, camping area, like with the horses, is kind of your like home base for the fair?
Yeah, so my mom and dad went to the fair for a long time, and they had Peace Fleece, which was in a yurt. Many people came and went from that. It was always the spot to go when it was raining and cold, because everyone would huddle into the yurt and surround a little fire in there. And they had an international wool business called Peace Fleece, which was there for many, many years. And then that eventually phased out, and then my dad kept going for low impact forestry and bringing his draft horses every year, doing a lot of round pen demonstrations over the years. And so that just kind of became our touch point. Our home base was spending time with the animals, waking up to the donkey. I kind of miss that donkey that's up every morning, like 4 a.m. Like, all throughout the night. So sleeping to the sound of the donkey, I kind of missed that donkey. Hopefully another generation can come back and wake us up early in the morning. But yeah, and then my brother Chris Lombard doing, he's become a real anchor for me now that my dad hasn't gone for a few years, which was hard for me because he'd been such a consistent member of the Ground Fair. But his memory decline has made it too overwhelming. And, so I'll ask my dad, certain people that he wants me to seek out and send his love to. So yeah, I kind of feel like I'm kind of carrying on some of my dad's, history with low impact forestry, and my mom's history with the fiber, the wool folks, checking in with those people every year. So yeah, and then now through Chris, my close friend, it's so great to have him carrying on at the horse. He gives me some limited horse area to pull up my camper next to his.
Are there any particular stories you want to tell me about the fair?
One of my favorite Common Ground stories was one that I wasn't at. I just heard about it, and it felt so epic and so representative of the fair. And that was, the volunteer food tent, as many know, for everyone who's volunteered, is such a sacred place, and it's some of the best food you'll have all year. And so we kind of drool over getting to the point where you get to go to the volunteer tent. And that's such a magical part of the fair. The volunteering that everyone does is so magical and a big part, I think, of why it's so successful and why everyone comes back. It feels so good to be a part of it. And this story takes place in the kitchen. And one year, I had a friend who was volunteering in the kitchen, and she said, they're cooking up, lots of vegetables and chopping up all these. And they're, at the Common Ground Fair, there's everything from vegans to, hardcore farmers to, back to the land and old school, hunters. And there's like a real wide range of people at the fair, which is a great, common ground, right? It's where we all come, regardless of your political affiliations or who you identify is or as. It's like we're all just together in the kitchen cooking. So that day they were cooking a lot of vegetables. So they're chopping up all these veggies. And all of a sudden they're like, the door busts open and they're like, we got a delivery, here we go. And they're dragging a deer through the kitchen. and someone had just hit this deer on the road in front of Common Ground. And so they threw it in the back of the truck and they're like, let's bring it to the kitchen. It's still warm. So the deer's still warm. They drag it into the kitchen, throw it up onto the table, chop it up, and start making this like venison stew on the spot right there. And so whether or not that story is true, I hope it is. I was told to me, so I'm assuming it was true. It is such a folkloric kind of example of the Common Ground Fair that like we are just pulling from everywhere. We're pulling it out of the ground. We're pulling vegetables off the vine, fruits off the trees, we're animals off the road, like just warm, like cut it up, put it in the stew, and just make use with everything that you have. Yeah. And then, that soup I'm sure was incredible, and the fresh venison stew. So I just love that element of the Common Ground Fair, that it's everyone's pulling together with whatever they have to create these feasts that sometimes you see a line, you're like, how are they going to feed this many people, this many volunteers? And somehow they always do. Yeah. And there's always enough for everybody.
I know you had told me a story about the manure toss, the Harry S. Truman manure toss. Do you want to tell that one?
So I have, thank you for setting me up. I have won the Harry S. Truman poop toss in the past, and it was one of my proudest moments when myself, my daughter, and my wife all received ribbons for different places we'd got in the Harry S. Truman poop toss. The last few years, I have not really been able to show up in my best poop tossing capacity. And this year, I was trying to modify and perfect which rake or which implement I want to use for the toss. So this is a very funny story from just this fair. I found a little mini poop rake, which I felt like would be perfect. And it was an old, antique little poop rake that one of the volunteers at the Low Impact Forestry handed me. And she said, yeah, you can use this. You can try tossing poop. So very quickly, I'm like,
this is because the purple one that we were using before broke, correct?
The purple one we were using, I used again this year, but last year it had one tong missing. This year it had two tongs missing. So the poop, when you go to throw it, will inevitably find its way to one of those tongs that's missing and spray and break apart, which is very,
Doesn't work.
heartbreaking. When you want to have a solid turd that goes the distance, that poop rake will not deliver, and it hasn't for me. So I was trying to perfect it, use a different type of poop rake. So anyway, this year I called everyone's attention. I'm like, hey guys, let's try using this tiny poop rake. And so everyone is like eyes on me, right? And I'm gonna toss this little turd I found, horse turd, into the woods. So everyone's like watching me with the rake, just about to toss it. And everyone's like 3, 2, 1, and I go to toss it, and I snap this whole shaft that's holding the little poop rake. I snap it in half, and the turd just goes nowhere and drops straight to the ground. Everyone, including the owner of this antique rake who had used it for many years, just dropped to the ground in laughter. And so I owe them a new poop rake. So that's
was that Rhonda's
tale.
Rake?
That was Rhonda's. Rhonda's Christmas gift this year is a new antique poop rake from Silas.
Any other stories or like a favorite t-shirt design or anything?
Oh man, all the t-shirts are amazing. I love them every year. This year's horse drafts pulling is great. Although Chris had a really good point about this year's t-shirt design. He's like, where's the person? Is this a runaway team of horses? He's like, where are the reins? Where's the person behind this? And we're still laughing about how that's like a runaway team blazing across the field with no one behind them. So that was a funny addition to the t-shirt design.
Yeah.
But I think that so much of the magic of the fair is the relationships. It's about the love between everybody. And even if you don't know them, you feel like you know them because the common ground brings everybody together, and it's that common ground that we're all standing on, regardless of who you are, where you come from. You have this family of the fair, and so you can always reach out to people, you can hug people, you can talk to people in a way that I feel is a little more vulnerable, a little more open, a little more honest, a little more loving than you might in another space. And I think that's why people keep coming back.
Yeah.
And that's why I keep coming back for people like you, Claire, for all these people that I've known throughout the years. And it's this unique touch point where every year everyone gets a little bit older, a little bit wiser, hopefully, has more stories to share. Or not. A full circle. Yeah. So, it's a magical place. And if you haven't experienced it, then we invite you to come to the Common Ground for the third weekend in September. We'll hope to see you there.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for talking to me. This was amazing. I'm really looking forward to putting this out into the world. This one was a really fun one.